The giant transparent cube sped through the dark space between universes, and inside it, Gohan stood very still. He looked at his hands, which were covered by the silver gloves of his new uniform. He had just learned how to use the power of destruction, but he had not used it on a real enemy yet. He remembered the feeling of destroying the rock back on Beerus's planet. It was a cold feeling. It was not hot like anger. It was quiet. It was final. He looked at Beerus and Whis, who were steering the cube. He looked at his father Goku and Vegeta, who were looking out into the darkness. They were excited to fight. They were always excited. But Gohan felt a heavy weight in his stomach. He was not excited. He was worried. He was going to Universe 6 to destroy a threat. He was going there to erase something from existence. The cube shook a little bit as they crossed the border into Universe 6. The stars here looked the same, but the feeling was different. The energy of this universe felt frantic. It felt scared. Whis tapped his staff on the floor of the cube. The cube slowed down. They were approaching the planet where Champa lived. Champa was the god of destruction for Universe 6, and he was Beerus's brother. Usually, Champa's planet was loud and funny because Champa was always yelling for food. But today, it was silent. They landed on the ground. The big tree where Vados usually sat was broken in half. The castle was damaged. There were holes in the walls. Smoke was rising from the ground. It smelled like burnt stone. Beerus stepped out of the cube first. His ears twitched. He looked around. He did not say anything funny. He looked very serious. He called out for his brother. He yelled, "Champa, where are you?" There was no answer. Only the wind blew through the broken windows. Gohan stepped out next. His boots crunched on the gravel. He sensed the air. He could not feel Champa's energy. He could not feel Vados's energy either. This was bad. An angel like Vados should always be felt unless she was hiding. Goku and Vegeta ran to the castle to check inside. Gohan stayed with Whis and Beerus. Gohan saw a strange black mark on the ground. It looked like oil or tar. He bent down to look at it. It was bubbling. It hissed like a snake. Gohan reached out his hand to touch it, but Whis stopped him. Whis said, "Do not touch that, Gohan." Whis said, "That is concentrated negative energy. It eats life." Suddenly, the pile of rubble near the tree moved. Vados emerged from the stones. She looked tired. Her dress was torn a little bit. This was shocking because angels never get dirty. She held her staff tightly. She looked at Beerus and Whis. She did not smile. She said she was glad they came. Beerus asked where Champa was. Vados pointed to a floating orb of green light behind the tree. Inside the orb, Champa was sleeping. He was covered in bruises. He was in a healing coma. Vados explained what happened. She said a creature had appeared from the edges of the universe. She called it the Void Walker. She said it was an ancient being that fed on the energy of destruction. She said Champa tried to use Hakai on it, but the creature ate the Hakai. It ate the destruction energy and got stronger. It beat Champa and left him for dead. Then it went to the planet with the most energy in the universe. It went to planet Sadala, the home of the Saiyans. Gohan's heart skipped a beat. Planet Sadala was where Kaba lived. It was where Karl and Caulifla lived. They were his friends. They were good people. If this monster could beat a god of destruction, then the Saiyans stood no chance. Goku heard this and clenched his fists. He said, "We have to go right now." He said, "We have to save them." Vegeta looked angry too. He cared about the Saiyans of Universe 6 because he was the prince of all Saiyans. He said nobody destroys Saiyans while he is around. Whis tapped his staff again. The cube formed around them. They shot up into the sky. Vados came with them. She said she would guide them. The trip to planet Sadala felt very long, even though it was fast. Gohan closed his eyes. He tried to imagine the enemy, a monster that eats destruction. How do you destroy something that eats destruction? It seemed impossible. Gohan felt fear creeping in. He thought about Pan again. If this monster came to Universe 7, it would eat Earth. He could not let that happen. He had to stop it here. He had to figure out a way. Whis looked at Gohan. He spoke softly so the others would not hear. He said, "Gohan, you are thinking too much." He said, "You are trying to solve a puzzle. But destruction is not a puzzle. It is a force of nature." He said if fire meets water, the water wins. But if the fire is hot enough, the water evaporates. He said your destruction must be absolute. It must be so pure that nothing can eat it. Gohan nodded. He understood. He had to stop hesitating. He had to be absolute. They arrived at planet Sadala. The sky was usually blue, but now it was dark grey. There were black clouds swirling everywhere. The city of the Saiyans was burning. Tall buildings were crumbling. Gohan saw the Saiyan Defense Force fighting in the streets. They were shooting energy blasts at black shadows that were crawling on the walls. But the main battle was happening in the center of the city. There was a giant creature standing in the middle of the main square. It was tall and thin. It was made of black slime, but it had a hard white mask for a face. It had no eyes, just a mouth. It had long arms that dragged on the ground. This was the Void Walker. It was roaring. The roar sounded like metal screeching. Flying around the monster were 3 glowing lights. One was blue, one was green, one was yellow. It was Kaba, Karl, and Caulifla. They were Super Saiyans. They were attacking the monster with everything they had. Kaba fired a Gallic gun. The purple beam hit the monster's chest. The monster just opened its mouth and sucked the beam in. It swallowed the energy. Then it grew a little bigger. Caulifla punched the monster in the face. Her fist sank into the black slime. The slime grabbed her arm. She screamed. Kale yelled and flew in. She was in her berserker form. Her hair was green and she was huge. She punched the monster away from Caulifla. The monster flew back and crashed into a building. But it stood up instantly. It did not look hurt. It looked hungry. It looked at Kale. It sensed her massive energy. It wanted to eat her. It lunged at Kale. It was too fast. It grabbed Kale by the throat. Kale struggled. Her energy was draining away. The monster was drinking her power. Kaba screamed and tried to help, but the monster swatted him away like a fly. Kaba crashed into the ground near the royal palace. The cube landed on a hill overlooking the city. The door opened. Goku and Vegeta were ready to fly out. They wanted to fight. But Beerus shouted stop. They stopped and looked at him. Beerus said, "This is not your fight." He said physical punches will not work well. He said this creature is made of magic and negative energy. He said only destruction energy can erase it completely. He looked at Gohan. Beerus said, "This is your test, Gohan." He said, "Go down there and do your job." He said, "Show me that you are a candidate for God of Destruction." Goku looked worried. He said, "Gohan is not ready for a monster that beat Champa." Beerus said, "He has to be ready." Vegeta looked at Gohan. He said, "Do not embarrass us, Kakarot's son. Show them the power of a Saiyan god." Gohan stepped forward. He took a deep breath. The air smelled of smoke and fear. He jumped off the hill. He did not fly fast. He fell towards the city. He landed softly in the middle of the square. The dust settled around his boots. The monster dropped Kale. It turned its white mask towards Gohan. It sensed a new energy. It sensed the energy of destruction. It hissed. It seemed happy. It thought Gohan was another meal. Kaba looked up from the rubble. He saw Gohan. His eyes went wide. He whispered, "Master Gohan." He could not believe it. Gohan looked different. He was not wearing his glasses or his tracksuit. He was wearing the clothes of a destroyer. He looked dangerous. Caulifla helped Kale stand up. They looked at Gohan too. They felt a strange pressure coming from him. It was not the warm pressure they were used to. It was heavy and cold. The Void Walker ran at Gohan. It raised a giant black fist. Gohan did not move. He watched the fist come closer. He analyzed the speed. It was fast, but Gohan could see it. Just before the fist hit him, Gohan raised his left hand. He caught the monster's wrist. The ground cracked under Gohan's feet, but he did not slide back. He held the monster's arm. The monster tried to pull away, but Gohan's grip was like iron. Gohan looked at the monster. He saw the black slime bubbling. He saw that the monster had no soul. It was just a hunger. Gohan felt a little bit of relief. He did not have to feel bad about killing this. This was a threat to everyone. Gohan clenched his right fist. He punched the monster in the stomach. He did not use energy. He just used physical strength. The punch was so hard it created a shockwave that blew the clouds away. The monster folded in half. It coughed up black sludge. Gohan let go of the arm. The monster stumbled back. It was confused. Physical attacks usually did not hurt it this much. But Gohan was very strong. Gohan walked forward. He did not rush. He walked like a predator. The monster got angry. It opened its mouth and fired a black beam of energy at Gohan. Gohan swatted the beam away with the back of his hand. The beam hit a building and the building vanished into nothing. Gohan realized he had to be careful. If that beam hit the Saiyans, they would die. Gohan decided to end this quickly. He flared his aura. The silver and purple light surrounded him. The ground shook. Small rocks started to disintegrate around him. He entered his ultimate form mixed with the destruction training. He called it his destroyer state. His eyes turned purple. He appeared behind the monster instantly. He kicked the monster in the back. The monster flew into the air. Gohan flew up above it. He clasped his hands together. He slammed them down on the monster's head. The monster crashed into the street. A giant crater formed. The whole city shook. Goku watched from the hill. He was amazed. He said, "Gohan is incredible." He said, "Gohan is fighting with no wasted movement." Whis nodded. He said, "Gohan is analyzing the enemy as he fights. He is finding the weak point." But Whis said, "The hard part is coming now. The monster is not dead." In the crater, the black slime started to bubble furiously. The monster grew larger. It became as big as a building. It grew spikes on its back. It roared so loud that windows shattered across the city. It was evolving. It realized Gohan was strong, so it was using all the energy it had eaten from Champa and the others. It opened its mouth and a giant ball of darkness formed. It was going to blow up the whole planet. Gohan floated in the air looking down at the giant monster. He saw the ball of darkness. He knew he could not block it. If he blocked it, the explosion would destroy Sadala. He had to erase it. He had to erase the monster and the attack at the same time. Gohan felt fear again. Could he do it? It was so big. He heard a voice in his head. It was Beerus. Beerus spoke through telepathy. He said, "Stop doubting yourself, boy." He said, "You are not a mortal defending a city anymore. You are a god imposing your will." He said, "Decide that the monster does not exist. Do not try to destroy it. Just decide that it is gone." Gohan closed his eyes for 1 second. He thought about the timeline where he failed. He thought about the timeline where everyone died. He opened his eyes. The purple light in his eyes became intense. He raised his hand. He pointed his palm at the monster. He did not scream. He did not yell. He just spoke one word. Hakai. A small purple sphere shot out of his hand. It looked tiny compared to the monster. The monster fired its giant black ball. The tiny purple sphere met the giant black ball. There was no explosion. There was no sound. The purple sphere simply moved through the black ball. Wherever the purple light touched the black ball, the blackness disappeared. It did not break. It was just deleted. The purple sphere kept moving. It hit the monster's chest. The monster looked down. Its white mask showed fear for the first time. The purple light spread across its body. The black slime turned into purple dust. The monster tried to scream, but its mouth was erased. Slowly and silently, the giant monster vanished. It was erased from history. The purple dust floated in the wind. The sky cleared. The sun came out again. Gohan lowered his hand. He was breathing hard. He felt very tired. Using that much destruction energy was exhausting. He floated down to the ground. Kaba ran over to him. Kaba was crying. He hugged Gohan. He said thank you. He said you saved us all. Carl and Caulifla walked over. Caulifla looked at Gohan with wide eyes. She asked what kind of power was that. She said it was terrifying. Gohan looked at his hand. He said it was the power of responsibility. Beerus and the others flew down. Beerus landed next to Gohan. He looked at the spot where the monster used to be. He nodded. He said you passed. He said you hesitated for a second, but you got the job done. Goku patted Gohan on the back. He said he was proud. Vegeta crossed his arms and smiled. He said not bad for a scholar. Vados checked on the planet. She said the planet was safe. She thanked Gohan. She said Universe 6 owed him a great debt. She said she would tell Champa, who saved his universe when he woke up. Gohan bowed. He said he was just doing his duty. But deep inside, Gohan felt something change. When he erased the monster, he felt a connection to the universe. He felt like he was part of the balance. He realized that Whis was right. Destruction was necessary to protect life. Without destruction, the Void Walker would have eaten everything. Gohan looked up at the sky. He knew this was just the beginning. He knew there would be stronger enemies. And he knew he had to be ready to make the hard choices. Suddenly, Whis' staff glowed again. Another message. Whis looked at it. His face went pale. This was very rare. Whis never looked scared. Beerus asked what it was. Whis said it was a message from the Grand Priest. He said the balance of the multiverse was shifting. He said, because the Void Walker was destroyed, a seal had been broken. A seal that held back an ancient evil. Whis looked at Gohan. He said your act of destruction saved this world, but it might have awakened something else, something much older. Gohan clenched his fist. He was tired, but he was not afraid. He looked at Whis. He said, let it come. He said, I will be ready. The group got back into the cube. As they flew away from planet Sadala, Gohan looked back. He saw the Saiyans waving at him. He promised himself he would become the strongest god of destruction. Not for power, but for them, for Pan, for everyone. Stay tuned for the next episode to see what ancient evil Gohan has awakened.